On February 28th, the Supreme Court is going to take on a major environmental case called West Virginia versus Environmental Protection Agency. The basic idea here is the EPA doesn't have unlimited power to do whatever it wants. If it moves forward with sweeping controls over industry, critics contend that it would be going far beyond the authority granted to it by Congress. And joining me now is the Attorney General for West Virginia, Patrick Morrisey. Attorney General, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. You have been battling the EPA for years. I know we're going to be hearing more about this case in the coming days. Tell our viewers why you think the fight is so important and how would EPA's proposal hurt consumers?
Absolutely. So I think many people looking at this case view it as a case related to environmental regulation or a case about climate change. I think it's actually much bigger than that. This is a question as to who gets to make the decisions about major questions of the day in our society. Should it be Congress, which should provide a clear statement to an agency before they're able to act, or should an agency, in this case, have the ability to unilaterally decarbonize our nation, even though it hasn't had that clear statement from Congress? And we think that there is a clear answer here because the system of government that we've chosen, our Constitution, our republic, respect for the separation of powers, suggests that Congress needs to have a seat at the table. Representatives from New York, West Virginia, California, Texas, everyone gets to weigh in on the major questions of the day. That's what needs to happen here. So EPA does not have that virtually unlimited power to act. This is a case for Congress to decide.
So for people not familiar with what's going on, what does the EPA want to do? And would a loss in this case have a devastating impact on West Virginia's coal industry? What would happen to the price of energy?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think we know what the EPA is trying to do because we've heard from President Biden his climate agenda, and they're not only trying to knock out the remainder of the coal-fired power plants and reduce natural gas capacity in half, they're looking to electrify the grid. From a policy perspective and an economic perspective, there's going to be significant increase in the cost of energy here in the United States. That's going to be devastating for consumers. Obviously, have a very detrimental effect on West Virginia. So the policy implications here are very significant. But I want to keep going back to the fact that if you have a big question like this is for Congress to step up and act on and deal with. Everyone acknowledges, whatever your perspective on the issue of climate change, that it's a major question. So if in fact it is, it's the perfect opportunity for Congress to weigh in. You shouldn't have to be fighting off a federal agency that was not provided with this specific authority and have such sweeping implications. You don't want to transform the EPA from an environmental regulator into a central energy planning authority.
Go into more detail about what would happen to the coal industry.
Well, look, I think we know that coal has suffered a great deal over the years, in particular with the level of regulation and some of the market forces, of course. But back during the Obama administration, coal took on huge blows. And we were able to actually go up to the U.S. Supreme Court back in 2016 and get a stay of the historic Obama Clean Power Plan. And we're looking to go further here. But this would have a very significant implication on West Virginia. Imagine you have a state that could be forced to come into compliance to severely change its energy mix. Well, what that's going to do is it's going to represent a shock to the system in terms of the cost of electricity, our manufacturing sector, our ability to compete worldwide on the energy stage. And obviously, this is going to consign West Virginia to a very poor place for the foreseeable future. But remember, the key issue here is who gets to make the decision. If Congress, through its infinite wisdom, sits down and everyone gets to make a call on that, that's a much better process than allowing these unelected bureaucrats to weigh in.
That was my next question. Is this case about who gets to make the major decisions, that affect large segments of the economy, elected officials or our bureaucrats? And you just
Well,
said it.
that's exactly right. I mean, this is a clear case. It's a major question. Congress has the ability to have a clear statement for the agency. They haven't done so here. This means that this is the type of case that should be resolved expeditiously by the court because clearly, while you want to deal with the big questions of the day, you don't want an agency to seize control when they don't have it.
So February 28th, that is a big day. How long do you think it will take before they make a decision?
Well, we expect that this will probably be part of what comes out of the terms docket, maybe in June. This is obviously one of the bigger cases of the term, so we think they'll take their time and get it right. And we're optimistic. We're not cocky about this, but we think we're correct on the law. We think what we're asking for is very modest. Because once again, wherever you stand on the issue of climate change, we're saying respect the constitutional process that has been put in front of us. Don't try to take shortcuts because that's when you really see a lot of rancor and you start to see a breakdown of our system of government.
Attorney General for West Virginia, Patrick Morrisey, will be watching this closely. I know you'll be watching it closely as well. Thank you so much for joining us today and having this conversation.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Want to see more videos like this? Visit OANN.com for immediate access to all the clips you've been waiting to see.